Deutsche ist der Originalkanal. Das sind ja diese Dolmetschkanäle, in dem Moment, wo die Dolmetschkanäle startet, ja, kann man die öffnen und dann ist der inaktiv und das ist Englisch. Und der ist immer vernünftig. Und das ist ein Budget Original. Und dann sind die anderen in der Kabine. Also halt das zu so viel. Letztes Mal pausieren. Dann schon was los. I would start now the translator. Is it okay? And you are in your box. And then I let people in now.
Is wrong my room?
Your room is wrong.
Yeah. My room said English to German and need to be from English to Spanish.
English, right, to Spain. Alles rausgegangen. Now should be okay.
Alex, is okay now?
Okay. Das lasse ich alle zu.
자 칼레 주고 이 주도하는 바 상만라 다시 들이 주의
Dashidele to all the Dharma friends joining us on the live stream.
들이는 다이 만족과 왕리 만족 왕리 저거는 마사마 좋아 시체모리 해나데 마사마 뉴마지 제바제 강리는 이렇게 땅을 석골 리당자데 들이 탄이 자체때 인성 그래서 오르는 마사마든지 제르라서 당겨리 나고는 맥당자데 통화다이 주소 대체 힘못 주고 뒤서는 그냥 들이다 하나님마 제 나고 맥당자데 통화다이 주소 일상골 명당자데 제지종지 주소 나는 삼서 디디 양서는 한테는 냠용讨论 되더니 그가 도요리 들이텔 조금 뒤서 그 양당 주고 관저 방은 somebody 왕보라로 초아 제바고서 들이서서지 두께서 고요리 뭐또 선왕을 줄라서 봐 이제 왔다 제바가서 서트죠 콜로 망주죠 콜로 제트죠 콜로서 상지성 시켜요리 들이테들 들이사자니 뭐토바디 왕디 나사마세 초가던 돌라서 자치보요리 들이테는 강이 되는 들이사자 들이 이제 뭐고를 뭐지 초적 나와들이 저서 냠설이 발라들이 난고르당 상고르도 오치네들이 저 디오리 들이 왕보라로 초가 제바고 대들라 디바야는 예 손짓이고 제디가서 말이 초가 제바티 제살이나 때가 갖고 오래 기술하는 머리 들이 저 냠설이 발라들이 다 탑대 꼼짝을 못치기 그냥 무것도 못 초대나 왕디 내가 그 조금 주고 왕뭐 토요일 왕도 토요 남니다 제가 생각해서 다 사지 빨리 이제 왕제들은 주로 말하는 거래
Today we are receiving the empowerment of the Buddha Akshobhya, and it is also in general people have a lot of trust and faith in the secret mantra teachings. That's why we have empowerment. And so there are the new and the old tantras. And so what's the difference between the new and the old tantras? So this belonging now to new ones, but what's really the difference? So actually, or the old one. So there is an outer, inner, and a secret cycle in terms of practice. So the outer cycle is the physical, the cycle of the body, and so that relies mainly on external conventions and elaborate practices. So there's the various elaborate ritualistic activities and so on. And then the inner cycle. And so, sorry, the first one belongs, the outer one is mainly also the one that the new tantric system deals with. And then the inner cycle is like the eyes of someone. So that is it's called the Dharma that is seen through signs. So the first one is like more like the limbs of the body. The second one is like the eyes. And so in the inner cycle of teachings, the Dharma is further condensed into its essence. And then there's the secret cycle, which is like the heart. And so here the essence is further condensed down into the quintessence. So it's over and over again, the practice is condensed, so we come to its very refined essence. And the way it becomes condensed is through experience. So as one attains experience in the practice becomes more and more condensed. But then Jigten Somgyal also said in the Gongchik that for those of higher mental capacity, the rituals should be elaborate. So there's also something to be said about having an elaborate ritual for someone of higher capacity. So on the outer level, it is then still necessary to perform very elaborate, great accomplishment practices and so on. For example, His Holiness the Dalai Lama, when he gives the Kala Chakra, the great Kala Chakra empowerment, he explains the Kala Chakra as being of an outer, an inner, and an other aspect of Kala Chakra. So there's many different levels. And so now for the Akshobhya empowerment, that, according to the secret mantra, generally possesses a very vast and extensive ritual, actually. But then today's empowerment is actually more concise, and it was written down by Chamgyung Kongtrul Rinpoche, and it was written from the perspective of like a continuous practice, for like basically from a practical perspective, not just from a vast ritualistic perspective. And so this particular empowerment belongs of those 3 cycles to the inner and the secret one. So as Jigten Sumgön had said, those of higher mental capacity require often a elaborate empowerment, but also the other side of the spectrum. So either it's very elaborate or it's very concise. A very elaborate ritual would take for a very long time. So there's a very elaborate ritual also to this one. But this particular empowerment is very condensed, written down by Chamgyung Kongtrul Rinpoche. And so generally myself, I have received an Akshobhya empowerment many times. And I don't even remember each of those circumstances now, but in which a ritual they all belong to. But in any case, all the deities really are the same. And so, Dharma friends, this is the empowerment I'm offering to you today.
다시 가래나 다시 초가도 데라서 진도메바 그 동네로 세자 대상 차병을 마삼이 규진이에는데 그래는 로지드는 인지 토리 살로서 이지지들이 나게 능용적이
So first we will begin with the historical background of the empowerment. In general, that the history is widely spread in Tibet, because there is a tradition of continuously reciting the various rituals and sadhanas. People are familiar with it, but it's not so widely spread in the Western countries. So whether it is the new or the old tantric system. In any case, we're going to read the history in English, and then I'm going to start with the empowerment. So the history of the empowerment. It is called the Moonlight Dispelling Darkness, the empowerment of the Bhagavan, the protector Akshobhya, from the Vajra essence. In general, there are 3 ways in which all Buddhas are essentially equal. Equal in their accumulation of merit, equal in having attained the Dharmakaya, and equal in acting for the benefit of others. However, the different aspirations they make when first arousing bodhicitta result in diverse manifestations of enlightened activities. The Bhagavan Akshobhya the Bhagavan Akshobhya's arousing of bodhicitta was miraculous and extraordinary, since his aspirations, such as the 8 great aspirations and the 7 perseverance wishes, were all accomplished. He surpasses all the other Buddhas. He dwells within the joyous Eastern Pure Land, happily teaching the Dharma there. All the Buddhas of the 10 directions in their different Pure Lands, including our teacher Shakyamuni, praised Akshobhya's life story. In particular, merely wearing the Dharani mantra of this protector, Akshobhya will break the continuum of all karmic obscuration accumulated since beginningless times. He is superior because he performs activities to accomplish enormous temporary and ultimate benefits. For example, no Mara and demonic god will ever be able to cause a hindrance. In the Dharani Sutra, it says, when this Dharani is recited, the entire series of one's past karmas will be completely purified. When recited throughout the 3 times, even the 5 inexpiable sins will be cleansed. If one recites it only once, everything inauspicious, ill omens, and bad dreams will disappear. If someone, overcome by compassion, were to recite this Dharani into the ears of an animal, a bird, a human, or a non-human, at the time of their death, they will not take birth in the lower realms. Since when even one has had committed the 5 inexpiable sins, or one who had abandoned the holy Dharma, or one who had abused a noble one, saw this Dharani written on the wall at the time of one's death, all one's karmic obscurations would be exhausted. How much more so would this be for one who would recite or repeat it? The Tathagata Akshobhya, having appeared to just that one, would moreover say, O child of noble family, come here to me. If one carries it on one's person, or if having written it in a book and tying it around one's neck, one wears it, for him ultimately death would never occur. If the various sadhanas related to this Dharani, which is praised widely as supreme, of the various sadhanas, this particular sadhana traces back to the oral instructions of the second Buddha, Padmasambhava. It was hidden as a profound dharma and later revealed by the great Nirmanakaya, the Dertun Jangchuk Yamten, from the Vajra essence of the clear expanse cycle.
Teni te da song te tang de te pion da ka ma ba ke yang tang de ma song te song long tam te song te nang te da te pion ja che ba le te ne che na te da ma so ko da sa ba ma le ni song ko lo den to cha wa ko lo den to mo le jen na te ja tam che ren ga ko so da go yo le ren ga te ren ga re je de te ni ren ga de ja wa ren ga ko ni te ni cha so de sa ni me tu ba le 용왕아는 용왕아는 최고라더니 연마마케지 드린 유마보는 세상 소리 용왕아는 제일들이 홀로든 저 무시 되게 내가 렉적드는 디스트릭이 뭐 강원도가 요리 거스미 시간에 인성 최근 내록들들이 실제로 이제 송마는 거 대단히 렉나들 렉나들 렉적드는 타톡들이라는 게 또 콘데이지가 sem집으로도 돈다고 되면 통나 이때 다왜 사람들이 저한테 내록도 나더니 주당 사무 그것도 지금 작아서 말이 내록도 소문들이 사탐체들이 거를 다 살고 집어대요 제랑이 센데식이면 내록대 이전이 세지 담절이고 배 그때 로버트만 나오는 거지 저거래 그 나오는 거도 봐서는 맞춰봐 진짜는 샘트가랑 문제들이 맞춰봤다 톡지 맞춰 봐야지라 기계기 제담 다음에 와치네 이제는 대식지고 하면 많이 말이 들이 마상을 주니 산지랑나라니 자성 각각 말이 이는 로버트 마트니 처음 따서 차들이 대답을 시보고는 들사가를 보나 항상 로버트 마트 simply pingo never took it started 되게 나오던 것도 바짝만 쏘서는 이 센터들이 여기 거다 홍 되는 저홍 트레이너들이 제가까지 대식 뭐 하는데 소들들이 별로 자식 장소로 선바다고 차들이 또 심지고 요래 라카리 거나 심지되면 변 차롱도 잡지는 요래 다음 갑자기 잡지는 너도 내게 요래 심지 받으면 무슨 차롱도 줘대 나그 쳐봐대 잡지는 잡을 계속되게 잡도록 이be 차도를 생기마다 소리 왕가리잖아요. 이제 조금 뭐요 말이 이제 디시로인데 이제 다 왕고도 이
And so also, for example, in the past, since this empowerment now speaks about the benefits of the Akshobhya Dharani, also His Holiness the Karmapa, for example, taught on the benefits of the Akshobhya Dharani and also gave instructions and transmissions very extensively. And so Akshobhya is, in essence, it is said, one with the like the wrathful aspect of Chakrasamvara. And generally speaking, all the Buddhas belong to the 5 Dhyani Buddhas, the 5 Buddha families. so to one kind of Buddha family. So the Buddha Akshobhya of the four directions belongs to the eastern direction, and of the five elements, he is associated with the water element, and the female counterpart is the Kini Mamaki, in essence the water element. And of the afflictive emotions, the principal affliction associated with Akshobhya is anger or hatred, and he really is a manifestation of Chakra Samvara. And so what is his true nature? Actually, all the Buddhas of the five Buddha families ultimately come down to one single family, one single nature. And that is Buddha nature, one's own Buddha nature. And that nature inherently has the quality of the three kayas and the five wisdoms. Buddha nature is just like a crystal, and when the sun shines on the crystal, then five colored rainbow lights emerge from it, all being part of the crystal. So similarly, from this one nature, five kinds of Buddhas appear, different Buddhas appear. Samsara and Nirvana appear. It all arises from the mind only. One realizes that when one sees the ultimate truth. And that's the nature of all the deities. So when one realizes the nature of the mind, Longchen Rabjam had said, when you realize the nature of mind, there is no higher learning than that. So regarding deity meditation, deity practice, the deity in essential nature is your own Buddha nature, dwelling as the inherent nature of all sentient beings. It is the fundamental nature of all sentient beings. So that is what beings really are. And beings are just obscured by adventitious stains, which is the grasping to a self, the thought of a self. And when that is cleared away, then all beings are actually the Buddha. Whatever you think of, that is what the mind becomes. So when you think of Akshobhya, then that is what your mind becomes in that moment, especially if that is sealed by compassion. Because when you start out with compassion, first self-grasping goes away. And so actually, ultimately, the Buddha Akshobhya does not exist beyond your own Buddha nature. So in the new tantric system, it is said in one tantra that you yourself are the deity and the deity is yourself. So you're not separate from the deity. You and the deity are just like clean or polluted water, but it's still water. There's just a temporary defilement in our mind. And so when you meditate on the deity, you practice the deity, begin with cultivating a wish to benefit all sentient beings. So bring compassion to mind. That will clear away this thought of me first. And then visualize the main seed syllable, which is the syllable Hong, which also in essence is Buddha nature. And so it is just like when you practice in this way, it is just like you are pouring water into an ocean. Then you just merge one with the ocean. That is practice in this way, meaning when you base your practice on the motivation of bodhicitta, whatever deity you practice. Otherwise, if you do not cultivate bodhicitta in the beginning, then it is just like you are throwing an ice block into the ocean, and then it will just stay there floating on the ocean, and it won't actually merge with the ocean. So the mind is just like that, like it is like water. And when you cultivate bodhicitta, then the mind is more like rain falling down, instantly merging non-dually with the deity. So whatever empowerment you receive in the beginning, the motivation of bodhicitta is really most important. So I'm going to keep the instructions brief today because there's not so much time, and I will start now with the empowerment.
Sudamia Tatamchiam Guru Huma Obanga. Sawatanga Bedama Memenda Beda Bawama Sado Sawatanga da Abixika Yasomaya. Mijere o Belida Ome. Soba da Savana Baba da Wang to Banya the Jotoma. Only Sovereign Bote and Yajawana Janado, home with the Joana. La della Tribotoma, the Yatoma was a woman with the Wachipa, the Kedwana, Matana, Joma, Homa, Uma, no one was over the Sambara, no matter what, the Sambara, no matter what, the Sambara, the Wariki, Magnus of the law. The date was Zumdi Tambara, something, you were quite young, something. You got to get on the door, some calling Timbo Joy. You want to like others and Bojanis or others and Genabana, so that you the Dr. Man is our church of it, and they tell you what the ship on the river. Never so much about us again on a paper, the Sarin, what you and the children. 30年的都了，差不多就包括了七八八八这个红给牛仔呢，时间没这个样子做了个，上个月了白龙了，因为那爸妈结婚去不管情况搞好吧，这两个嘛，你这边那点了都说住了，多久了，跟人家都啥个的，他咋能给咱们什么长了白呀，好的呀，好吧，白呀，做到。我们在那家人，这里能看到人被审计他们的，东西找当地，这里这一窝这里面查的去吧的，这里面查的，上子面查的，面查不就的，这啥玩意？这了他家看了，就没了拉着那个面查的，好像东西不少我有的，这位的。The
root of suffering of all sentient beings is self-grasping, and an antidote to self-grasping is to offer a mandala. And there is an outer, inner, and a secret mandala offering. And so today we are going to recite the mandala offering that was taken from Milarepa's Guru Yoga, which is also available online. And it's because this particular mandala offering is very clear in its meaning. And it's really clarified the meaning to the disciple to really understand the meaning of the mandala. So we're going to recite that, which is, if you have the yellow prayer book, it's on page 7. An infinite array of worlds, each with 4 continents and the wealth of infinite oceans of realms. If I bring them all to mind and offer them without exception, please hold with compassion all the beings they contain. My body, enjoyments, and whatever I own, my aggregates, elements, and sense sources, my aspirations now and in times to come, as well as everything I grasp as mine. By offering them all, may I be blessed with the end of self-grasping. Completely liberated from the bounds of real and unreal, transcending the names and concepts of arising, cessation and abiding, coming and going, affirmation and denial. The supreme mandala is the natural state. By offering it, may I be blessed to attain the state of Buddhahood. Om Guru Devandakini Ratna Mandala Pradita Soha.
Wang Kang China, the Tila, more than Sochi some and the Talamatan or Tipagatini, Lamata, Yemesit, and of course, keep home to buy it, which is Tamsek one day, Tamori, Tamsek, Tamjaya, Tamjakan, Sinti told the San Jet was the Asom. This Tamja, they pay Muslim Juris, this or that, Tini, cleaning the Osa. You want money at the show you, son. You know, lost out over the edge.
And so when you receive the empowerment, and that is when you receive any empowerment really, you should always think that all the Buddhas of the 10 directions appear like gathering clouds, and the principal Buddha of the empowerment, and think of those Buddhas as inseparable, the principal Buddha as being inseparable from, essentially from your root guru. So think that all these Buddhas appear like gathering clouds in the sky, and the Buddhas appear following their previous samaya. So in the past, in the beginning, they made a commitment. And what was their commitment? They vowed to attain enlightenment in order to benefit all sentient beings. And so therefore, following that commitment, they are coming, following our supplication. So you should think that during an empowerment that these Buddhas are actually present. And when you repeat the supplications, think that now I am taking this commitment in the presence of these Buddhas. And now I'm really receiving the empowerment from these Buddhas in space. So actually me, the one who is conferring the empowerment, I'm more like the translator of these Buddhas in space.
Ema Lama Javi Tolongte.
Please repeat.
Sangye Kunji Jenkordo.
Sangye Gungi Ginkonzo.
Dala Gombo Manchokbe.
Dala Gombo Mechokbe.
Wam Chodamba Sardoso.
Wam Chodamba Sardoso. Then in English, the mandalas of all Buddhas are complete within the space expanse of your enlightened mind. O Guru, please grant me the supreme and sacred empowerment of the protector Akshobhya. So it seems that there is a question in empowerment. So when you receive the Akshobhya empowerment, what is the intention? What is your intention to have?
Lopon schöne Gongsosol. Sang chep chenbu tserdongba. Gombo chenbo da tsalo. Tamtsek deni da la tsor. Sangchok semjang da la tsor. Sangye chudang gendun te. Japsim da jang da la tsor. Tapa chenbu zhom cho de. Gobu dang li yo so. Yuan charge.
And so before this repetition, Rinpoche said that in general all the empowerments are really the same. The intention that has to come to mind obviously is bodhicitta, is the wish to benefit beings. And that has to arise as we take refuge in the three jewels. So our main refuge, when we take refuge, is the Buddha whom we see as our teacher. And then when we take refuge, we also have to cultivate a motivation of bodhicitta, a wish to benefit others, which will also then come later during the Samaya. So anyways, now please repeat the following. Great Joyful One, my teacher, Master, please consider me. I prostrate to the great protector who demonstrates the truth of great awakening. Please grant me Samaya. Endow me with the mind of awakening and impart the three refuges of Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. Protector, let me enter the sacred home of highest liberation.
타바시베 탈되는 강에 탈거리들 선대 정진보도 아마 산지에 대 다진 장님의 차공차성 차공제 강을 중에 탈데 잡수치도 적과 차거래 차공도 잡소리 템거래 탈들 때 차공 잡소리 다 탑성하래지 대회들이 차공도 다진 잡거래 산속세도 조잡거래 너는 다디도 자수 세비 이제를 사제래 대하고는 고아서 나 이제를 사제래 나 나오는 거지 담도 없지 대 가르치고 대 지피를 놓칠 때 나오는 거 답지도 요 말이 내가 시선을 때 왕 탐지가 싸웠대.
So we said this sacred home of highest liberation, to this great state of liberation. What does it mean? What does it mean to be liberated? It means to realize your Buddha nature, which is actually Buddha. Just temporarily, we are not liberated because of self-grasping and the afflictive emotions, which are like ice blocks. So it is just the fault of having frozen into an ice block due to cold water. So the ice block needs to melt and merge to be one with the ocean water. And once it has melted and has become one with the ocean water, that is what we call having attained liberation. So self-grasping is like ice, and bodhicitta is like the warmth that melts the ice. When you separate from self-grasping, then at the basis, your fundamental nature without self-grasping is Buddha, and that's the nature of all sentient beings. So once you understand that, you know that I am primordially, actually, I am the Buddha primordially. It is just right now I'm tied down by thinking that an I exists. So what can I do about it? I have to cultivate an altruistic mind. Then there is no thought of an I. But if you understand this essential point, then you have understood the root of all empowerments. Repeat. So somla.
Da gyabchi.
Da gyabchi.
Dekpa megi.
Dekpa megi.
So sha.
So sha.
Robert Gela.
Robert Gela.
Jirang.
Jirang.
Sangye Sangcho.
Sangye Sangcho.
Yi Zong.
Yi Zong.
Sangye Chu Sang.
Sangye Chu Dang.
Tongcho La.
Tongcho La.
Changcho Parde.
Changcho Parde.
Gyabsun Che.
Gyabsun Che.
랑진 동니
Rangshing
랍드럽서
Rabdrobser,
상축 샘데
Sancho Sem,
지발예
Jiburki,
상축 조그
Sancho Choki,
샘네 지지네
Semni Gekini,
샘진 삼제
Semchin Tamche,
다근 롱드예
Taki Dundanya,
상축 조조
Choncho Songcho,
이용 지발예
Yong Chebachi,
로라피서
Dola Penser,
상제를 발쇼
Sakento Basho. I take refuge in the three jewels and confess all evil and non-virtuous deeds. I rejoice in the virtues of beings, and I will hold the Buddha's awakening in mind until attaining awakening. I take refuge in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly in order to fully accomplish the purpose of others and myself. I give rise to bodhicitta, having given rise to the mind of supreme awakening. I welcome all beings. I will practice the supreme bodhisattva conduct that is pleasing to all. May I attain Buddhahood for the benefit of all beings.
운수보고주다 사바다만 소바고주다 황 또 뭔가를 빼마다 답에되나 장감지 sem지적으로 홍후보대 용도 줘봐 제일 장좀 되는 거뭐 만초바고 나한테가 조금 잘럭진 세나 빼지도 봐 사이에 선로의 용량자 도지 넘버 도지 넘버 2 남성 소리에 자도지 좀 뭐라고 해서 말로도 요번 내섬 저섬 전생바 소보지다가 네 소가네 자서 받으면 저 자성과 거기 정리 20바 받으면 봐 차바받아서 오늘 참밤시 저리 또 로방도 홍고 저세랑데 주섬저 상제도 홍고를 가리 나지지 직장만 나지 니가 요말 때 생동부 이제 소라 랩디요 이제 홍고 되니 남관이 사제 뭐고 그 저리 치와라라 좀 좋아요 가서 다시 느끼기가 탐송 상전이 제가 공부해야지.
So for the visualization, you should mainly visualize the Hung syllable, which is the essence of all the Buddhas of the 3 times mind. And what happens when you visualize the Hung is that there is no thought of a self. There is no dualistic thought of self or other when you meditate on the Hung. And therefore, when you meditate on the Hung, you come to the fundamental empty nature of your mind. So therefore meditate on the Hung and also think that in the space in front of you is the Buddha Akshobhya, and think that many forms of Buddha Akshobhya descend down, some as large as mountains and some as small as mustard seeds, and think that all of these forms dissolve into the entire universe and all sentient beings.
원배도 사미다 사자 홍자나 아위자야 Sima Basan Yasang Masabia Basan Mayam Timber Sabat Timber Jeti Rambe Alda Rambe Alda Ishiwa Pati, 7 Neruxi Batabi, nothing Nerukamana, say Shibata, Nanga, 7 Neru, what you pacha the 남카티 다와 다에 들이 제저 진시 마냥바데 베체데데 딱바 요래디 로아서 와 말에 상태 하고는 랑 통통 진시 요게 제발마도 선대식 요 하는 딱바 요래 대서 상고래.
So this was the descent of the wisdom beings, and all those of you who know the nature of the mind know that these wisdom beings and the essential nature of your own inner mind are one and the same. It is just like the sky and the clouds. And the wisdom beings are always actually with you. So there is no decline, there is no coming and no going. They are always continuously there as the essence of your own awareness. It is just, there seems to be an absence and presence depending on whether or not we are mindful of the wisdom being. But actually, the wisdom being really is your own Buddha nature.
이제 도마 왕 범박게 왕거 저 거기 또 이제 어제서 정거에 또 좀된 거 보면 저거 저거 뭐지 봐서 이게 되게 가는데 왕거에 들때 주주 쪽으로 요감네 이제 류 삼제 시대도 가봐 이제 뭐저거 나고 거 장미 봐봐 나왔네 가사 레리 거라더니 뭐 저거 레리더니 봐봐서 저 왕들이 광 때서 온 거래서.
During the conference of the empowerment, think that there are limitless forms of Akshobhya, all each holding an empowerment vase in their hands, appear in the sky, in space. And so think that above the crowns of each and every sentient being, there is Buddha Akshobhya holding an empowerment vase like this, filled with the empowerment nectar, the vase nectar. And they all receive the empowerment.
가야 베겐다 오메다 사미자도 가야 베겐다 마다사메다도 가야 베겐다 베다 사미자도 가야 베겐다 가야 베겐다 베다 사미자도 가야 베겐다 디 법왕 톱 거에 법왕 톱 리저 바타 나도 사고가 말아 왕이.
You have received the vase empowerment of form. The obscurations of your body are purified, and you are empowered to visualize the appearing yet empty form of the deity.
你把送成送个完过完了，就过个来，你把那俺家什么送的，대전당 예미 봐, 저랑 건 말도 봐, 남부사 탑지니 맞은 총아 이런 저 중앙 총아 때문에 정보宁波地方的om베다 사미다 사정 베다 사미다 사정的地方的대체가 고려 좀 말에 베다 사미다 사정的那地方的人不我们这个总是这这个잡아 밤에 들이랑 그 나 진짜 세바 갑자기这这这让个人家的红个大了的 거기 오상 아니 랑 단이 그 강송상 나가 나다는 걸 자라다다고 되다고 건 이것은 나 지지고래 돼.
And I think that from space, myriad forms of the deity and mantra syllables and mantra garlands and seed syllables of deities and so on all fall down like rain falling down. And the essence mantra of this Dharani, which you probably might not have heard of before, is Om Benza Samanta Sadhu Hong. And so I think that now from space, this rain shower of this Akshobhya mantra, the mantra syllables falls down. And as you repeat the mantra, think that these mantra syllables, these garlands of mantra, then enter you and go into your heart, and then begin to circle around the Hung syllable at your heart. And then also fill up your entire body, all the channels and the chakras in your body. And so then think that in this way, having pervaded your entire body, your whole being reverberates with the natural sound of the mantra. So think in this way when you repeat the Akshobhya mantra.
Om Beda Samita Satra Hong. Om Beda Samita Satra Hong. Om Beda Samita Satra Hong. Namori Nata Ya Ya. Om Kam Kane. Rotane. Totane. Trasane. Trati Hana. Sawa Karma. Parampara. Name Sawa Sato. Neta Soha. Oh, Samenda Daro. Samenda Sadre. 리더 잡아시바 됐다. 나를 윤다고 이 상태 양당이 박차지더니 특화는 이거요래. 제 사회 것들 양도 되게 뒤박차직 파스. 너무 좋은거래. 나그 박차 나도 비디지 박차도 또 매다도 책 설지 니보들 나다는 다시 애들 마치바들이 호소란 걸 책 초와 책을 초와지와 되게 나디 박차리 대들이 나라들이 나디 박차 직접 용나에 대책도 못하게 책상이 탐색들이 나를 달아 공성은 그냥 나디 박차지 파청도 요래 이렇게 거의 왕걸 느끼다 봤다 이거 박차지 다 요래.
So what are these obscurations of the body and of the speech? So the obscuration of the body is that you identify with your body. You look at your body and you think that's me. And that's a very strong habit that you have accustomed yourself to over and over again. And so that's why it's like many kind of drops have accumulated, and it's a powerful imprint. And that's why it naturally arises. And so when you visualize yourself as the deity, this is what destroys this imprint. It breaks through this ordinary imprint. And for the speech, the imprint of the speech or the obscuration of the speech is those thoughts that conflate one's inner thoughts about the outer object. The inner thoughts and the outer object become conflated. So it's basically we interpret outer objects in our own way, outer things that we hear. And so that's how we grasp at speech. For example, what that means is when somebody says something nice to you, then immediately you understand it in a certain way and you're very happy about that. And if somebody offends you just a little bit, then immediately you get really upset, angry about it. So this imprint, of this speech imprint that conflates one's own ideas and the outer sound heard, basically is the feeling that arises based on sounds that we hear. And when you recite the deity's mantra, then these imprints are destroyed. So you break through these imprints through the mantra recitation. And eventually, as a result, whatever you hear, pleasant or unpleasant, all words spoken by others, they will be heard as mantra. You hear them as mantra. And with your, from a physical perspective, you see all appearances as appearing yet empty. So when you visualize your body as the deity, that purifies the ordinary appearance or perception of the body, and then through the mantra recitation, you purify the ordinary imprints of the speech. And so all the mantra dissolves into your mala, and that's why also we say often that wearing the mala, so it touches you, so wearing the mala is very important and very precious, because whatever mantra you practice, the mala is charged with this mantra, so it's very powerful and very, very precious. So you always think that whatever mantra you practice charges or is absorbed into your mala. And so this was the speech empowerment. So you have received the mantra empowerment of speech. The obscurations of your speech are purified, and you are empowered to recite the heard yet empty mantra. And now third is the empowerment of mind. And you visualize from the Bhagavan's heart emerges a blue 5-pronged wisdom vajra, which dissolves into your heart. So this hung, also this vajra, is an example of your mind. It represents your mind. So its essence is hung, and this vajra is an example of mind in the fundamental nature, which is clear and empty, just like a crystal, possessing the qualities of the 3 kayas and the 5 wisdoms, and the 5 activities and so on. So, for example, there are many different explanations on the 5 aggregates and how they each relate to the 5 activities and so on. But basically, these are just like rainbow lights emerging from a single crystal. And that single crystal is like this Vajra. And the essence of this Vajra is Hung. So the ultimate Vajra is Hung. And the meaning of the Hung or the Vajra is that in the beginning it is unborn, and then also it is indestructible, it is unceasing. And when you meditate on the Hung Vajra, then there is no thought of a self, and that's why I always tell my disciples visualize the Hung syllable. That's why we print it on t-shirts and so forth. Because it's important to remember the Hung as much as you can. If you remember the Hung over and over again, then all there is in your mind is just Hung. And so the essence of Hung is the mind of all the Buddhas. Externally, the Buddhas may appear as Buddhas, but their inner mind is Hung. And what happens when you meditate on the Hung? How are you then a Buddha when you meditate on the Hung? It is because then there is no thought of self and other. And when there is no such a thought, then the mind just naturally abides like space in its natural state. That's why we say we can be awakened in just an instant, in one instant. So when you understand this crucial point, you may recognize the true nature of your mind. And so the representation of this true nature is the Vajra, whose essence is the Hung.
이 독상생 왕토 이들마다 싹동이시 고마라 와와연노서 싹동든 생겼다. 싸우리 동드나 그 강원대지 막 강원 남파당에 생포함을 아시 남파도 서서 때는 요래 쌀 동지 받아 생각면 제르더니 딱바지디 타지도 잡아지 네 딱번 타는데 봐 동마 세번 타지도 싸와 싹동속 욕대 네 피해를 네 건상 뭐야 차도 그러래 그 싹동이도 건드렸더니 내가 좀 혼자 매번 대화하지 그 사지 고방물이지 그tiktik 때도 생각나시리 늘 같으면 주제를 다 말이지 우리 세밀히 생초도 싹동고는 홍전에 내가 삼모당 때냐면 이제 뭐 담게게 놀라다는 그 세분 내록대 홍래지
So then it says, you have received the implement empowerment of mind, the obscurations of your mind are purified, and you are empowered to cultivate the clear and empty primordial wisdom. So clear and empty, the clear and empty mind. You see it when you look at your mind, because that's what your mind is. It is clear and empty. Clear is your awareness, and the emptiness is that there's not a single grasping thought in the mind. And when there is not a single thought in your mind, the mind naturally abides like empty space. So the mind is given this name, it's called clear and empty. That's the quality of the mind. And it is clear and empty, the clarity and empty qualities of the mind dispel all mistaken views, all extreme views of eternalism and nihilism. The extreme view of eternalism is dispelled through the empty nature of the mind, and the extreme view of nihilism is dispelled through the clarity aspect of the mind. And emptiness and clarity are a unified state, so they are not separate. And externally, they appear, for example, as Samantabhadra, Yap, and Yum. So this clear and empty mind, when that is realized, you experience you experience a state of great bliss, and this bliss is true bliss and unchanging bliss. It is the actual state of awakening that occurs in any given moment, in just an instant, because it is the nature of your mind. So the mind is most important. The body and the speech are secondary because they are compounded phenomena and therefore impermanent. The mind is what will continue on, and that is a clear and empty nature, represented by the Hung. So in this way, meditate in this way when you meditate on the Hung. So all of you who engage in actual practice, in brief, just meditate on the Hung. And then the fourth empowerment is called the totally complete empowerment of the sacred image. And so it says from the mandala, deity emerges a second wisdom form which then dissolves into you. And so I think that you think that the Buddha Akshobhya is in the space in front of you, a large form. So you think that Akshobhya is in space. But actually you are inseparable. Your mind is inseparable from Buddha Akshobhya. Because this reflection of Akshobhya in space is your own mind reflecting it. You are visualizing it, you're thinking of it. So it's the empowerment of the reflection, the deity's reflection, which is your own mind's projection, and therefore is an appearance of your own mind, which is clear and empty. So this is represented by the visualization of this reflection that you have mentally generated in space, then dissolves into you, into your mind. And so this is called the empowerment of the sacred image, or the reflection of the deity. And so think that the deity is reflected in space first, in the color of space, and its essence is clarity and emptiness, which is the essence of your mind. And you recognize that it is just a clear reflection of your own mind, and through recognizing that, the deity dissolves back into your mind.
그 마음이 생듯이 진짜 생듯이 뭐 이제 뜻이 뭐 그런 그 무속과 속담을 하고 예매 받자들이 제가 로를 받지 나오냐 받다 그 대비를 나오냐 받지 그러다 지금 필요로 이제 sem지 받다들이 다 시작으로 다 시작하는데 생분 내력이 메이저라고요 말 생분 내력도 가리 따싹 동남 가다 차대요리 그리 대체를 다더라 그것도 다 뭐냐면 다 무속과지 대사 생분 내력랑 대사 차대요리 그리 대라들 류가 이 쓴것 왔다 송은 이는 이제 왔다 오는 류가지나 이게 다 로요리 다 지방 지방은 나오자마 좀때 로버트 말이 내lok들 야서 직장 요 밀직장 마산 받아 딱같이 받아 그요래 그들이 받다고 내 값은 요래지 송대들이 들이 nom종도 내가 당들이 처보 내가 이 속에 내가 쓰는지 진짜 잡랑고 오고 난 거리 진짜 소를 내내들이 소를 내봐 대 소를 내 소를 그들은 보아자들이 제말을 배송 그래 통남도 내봐 마탑는 시보를 보아마 되게도 보아되면서 통남도 내봐 탑들 통남도 내봐 가리 나지 님에와 하고 그래 새로 나지 님에와 르드 쳐봐나 그러면 로버가 신박다 그래 새로 나지 님에와 하고는 들이 바로 보지 바시 남시세요 새로 내lok도 나지 님에와 하고서는 들이 다 죽어라 상제에 뜻이다고 저거래 들이지랑 것을 나오냐 봐들 뭐 속거들 남는 샷서는 다들 나중이요 말들 딱 봐들이지 새로 가지지나 그거 올 걸로 하지나 저거래 때문에 홍질나 저걸 가지지나 너는 제 팀버 까다들이 딱 제도 나중이요 말이 대체 다 왕지 봐서 나 왕지들이 소식을 다 걸어서 네 왕지 봐래
So you think that the Buddha Akshobhya has dissolved into me, into my mind. And so generally, who actually is Akshobhya? So then the name Akshobhya actually explains his nature. Akshobhya in Tibetan is Mitokpa, which means the one who cannot be disturbed, the unmovable one or invincible one. And that is the true nature of your mind. The nature of the mind is unborn, unceasing, and unabiding. That's the nature of the mind. That's the nature of Akshobhya. Unceasing, he is indestructible. Nothing can destroy him or disturb him, literally. And so that being the nature of the mind, essentially, then the appearing quality, the manifesting quality of the mind, then appears as the form of the Buddha Akshobhya or any deity you bring to mind. And the essential ground is Buddha nature, and that's the ground of all sentient beings. So that nature is indivisible from Akshobhya's true nature, his mind. We only are temporarily obscured by thinking that an I exists. And therefore, if you cultivate a wish to benefit others, bodhicitta, then this thought of me will collapse. But the nature of the mind will not collapse. That will not disappear. There will always be this nature that is clear and empty. And that is indivisible from Samantabhadra, Yabyum, or Akshobhya. They are the true fundamental nature of your mind that you realize when all the obscurations of body, speech, and mind are purified. And of these, the obscurations of the mind are most important. When you purify the obscurations of the mind, then the obscurations of body and speech will naturally become purified. So what does it mean to purify? It means that you eliminate the grasping mind, in particular the thought of an existing I. That is this temporary adventitious obscuration. So letting go of all grasping, you rest within your natural state, without a single thought, not thinking of anything in an affirming or negating way. that is what purifies these mental obscurations. And so there are actually three occurrences, three instances when we come to this naturally purified state where there are no obscurations in the mind. The first is when we engage in sexual intercourse. The second is when we die and the consciousness transfers, which is also similar to falling asleep, actually. And so we are also introduced to that in the context of channels and winds and so on. And so, for example, with regard to dying and the transference of consciousness and how we come then to the natural state, which we call having successfully performed Poa, Milarepa had said that only someone who has attained the path of seeing can really transfer the consciousness or practice Poa for someone else who has passed away. And that means the path of seeing. What does it mean having attained the path of seeing? It means that one has realized that self and other do not exist. It has become an experience. And one has also realized that the out of form, the body, is just like a fleeting cloud, lacking any inherent existence. And one realizes that ultimately there is just the consciousness, and there is no division between self and other, no delineation between self and other within that mind. And having realized that, that is how they can benefit Bardo consciousness. It is through their realization that then the Bardo consciousness can also understand that self and other do not exist separately. And as a result of that, realizing that, they attain enlightenment in the Dharmakaya. So when the moment you bring to mind the Buddha Akshobhya, this thought of me and I instantly is gone. And in an instant there is just Akshobhya. There is no concept of self and other. And whenever you think of the Buddha Akshobhya, it is like that. So if you like, you can instantly just have an awareness of Akshobhya in your mind, his body, his form, or you can just meditate on the Hong. When you are mindful, then there is no thought of a self. You should really analyze that. In that moment of recollection, when you recollect the Hong or the Buddha Akshobhya, really look at your mind. And you see that there is in this moment really no concept of self and other. So this is what we call this fourth empowerment of the deity's reflection. Oh, and this empowerment is accomplished in a single instant.
rāngi lūjī dhūpa tā, ngāgi dhūpa tā, yījī dhūpa tā, sōng chāna, rāngi sēm dē sāngjē rī dōk sāng hā kōna. Nī tā ngā rā rī bē sōng gā dī, tā wē sāngjē mē hī bē, rāngi sēm dē chē jī tū yé sōng, rāngi sēm dē sāng mā tā chā jī, tē rī sāngjē hā kō mē, dī mō sāngjē ngī rī kā rī dī, tā tā rā mā tā jī tōk sāngjē rī dī sāngjē hā kō yōng mā rī, tā rā mā dī yōng dī chūng rā tā rā, jē wē shī nī dī, dē chūng dī, dē rā mā dī ngā yōng rā rā nī, dē chūng jū kā sō rī, sem chipata tenda oi oi de ma uti de rang sem ne sabe sa de mi rang sem de sin de so de te to kar ge de ba go de ba dong bu na un ja ya de chen ni ju so de te wang ji da zo so de ne go bu ma to wang.
So, and these were the four empowerments, and Milarepa also said, so these are related to the four kayas too, and Milarepa said that when all defilements in your mind have become completely exhausted, isn't there someone who exhausted all of their defilements and then becomes a Buddha in one life? And then that one has connected to the 4 kayas, the qualities of the 4 kayas, which are already present within one's own mind. And when one attains enlightenment, then these qualities become manifest. So that is, once one has purified the obscurations of the body and of the speech and of the mind, when the mind has become enlightened, then these qualities emerge. They reveal themselves. Also elsewhere, Milarepa had said, when looking for the Buddha, don't look elsewhere, but look at the quality of your own mind. You won't find a Buddha outside of your own mind. So when the mind is completely pure and clear, that itself is the Buddha in your own mind, and there is no other Buddha. So really, who is that Buddha? For example, this Buddha is demonstrated by the gurus, the various spiritual teachers, and so on. And so, but when we say that the gurus, their mind is really the Buddha and so on, nobody can really understand that. And because people don't really understand that, often they take a quality of a guru and make it a fault. And then they criticize that guru for their faults. And actually, so that's what sentient beings do, because they are controlled by delusions and confusions in their mind. So actually, we should see the quality in such a spiritual teacher's mind. So mainly it is what Milarepa had said. What we need to understand here is that you can't find the Buddha outside of your own mind. When you want to find the Buddha, look at your own mind. And for that, he said, mainly you need to cultivate faith and devotion. This will naturally cause these veils of doubts and obscuration to vanish. So this completes the empowerment of the Buddha Akshobhya. You have received the totally complete empowerment of the deity's form mudra, or the reflection. The 4 obscurations are purified. The fourth empowerment is completed at once, and you are empowered to engage in infinite activities through visualization, mantra recitation, and samadhi.
또 이따 갔다 와도 캐는 랑롱 말롱 캐랑나 캐랑나 뭐네 배고요 말이 다랑 생부 답자지 나 캐리 제보고 자서 나 생부 답자지 그 답자를 막가는 나랑 그렇게 사는 거래 그 답자는 가슴을 나랑 종라 그거래 또 대답을 그래서 왕도 또 들으러 오는 봐 다시 들으니
In the end, we come to the Samaya, and so it says that you should regard the Buddha Akshobhya as your protector and never waver from visualizing the deity, reciting the mantra, and developing samadhi. And so there is a specific Samaya in each empowerment, which what we call the branch Samayas. And for example, in each sadhana, it says you have to practice this specific deity as your yidam until attaining enlightenment. So you're taking this commitment, you're vowing, you're promising to do the practice of that deity. So an ordinary person will take that literal and think that, then there is no end to practice really, because how can we practice every single deity from whom we have received an empowerment? But this is not how it is. Don't think of it in this way. But what you need to understand is that within one deity and within one mantra, all the deities and mantras are included, because it is said that within the expanse of primordial wisdom, all the Buddhas are one. So therefore, if you just practice a single deity and you recite a single mantra, on the outer level, it is sufficient. On the inner level, you should realize the view, the natural state of the mind, and sustain that without distraction. Meaning that you continuously rest within the unfabricated natural state of the mind. We can say this is the ultimate Samaya. It is to be mindful and undistracted throughout day and night, all the time. That is the ultimate Samaya. So it is to meditate. It is mindfulness. The Samaya on the relative level is love, that needs to be protected by patience. So that's the ultimate and the relative Samaya, or we can say there is basically three Samayas. Love, first and foremost love, then patience, then mindfulness. These three really are like your life vein, your life artery. These are the most important Samayas, your ultimate Samayas that you should keep. So therefore, remember them, keep them in mind. And so whether or not you actually make an open declaration of committing or promising to take this Samaya, it makes no big difference, because even if you openly declared, I'm taking this Samaya, if you don't really keep it, it's completely useless. And also likewise, if you never take a Samaya at all, and if you don't practice love and patience and so on, it's still your own detriment. So it is something a promise you take to yourself, and something where you take your own mind as a witness. And therefore, when you transgress it, it's only you who will be disadvantaged from that transgression. So that completes the empowerment Dharma Friends and Tashi Delek.
나라 이제 왕권이래. 랑서 답세 송거래. 답세 송거래. 마시 받들 마에서 개와라 그 되는 다들 라코리 좀 답세 이디. 그래서 정말 왕권. 삼마 제조 받들 마에서 개와라 그런데 제시 많이 받대 다들 아니 제 주적으로 많이 받잖아요.
And now, since I'm the one who has given you the empowerment, it's really mainly myself. I have to keep Samaya. And so what's my Samaya to keep? Like it is said in the prayer, until I die, I will apply my body, speech, and mind to virtue. This to me means that I will spin my prayer wheel. And in this way also through the prayer will confer empowerment to you. And then it says, until enlightenment, I will apply my body, speech, and mind to virtue. And that to me means that I will never be distracted. I will sustain an ongoing state of mindfulness. Throughout the 6 periods of day and night, I try to never be distracted.
상마 제주받을 마 저기 와그 대시에 되는 여 홍들이라 장면들이 홍들 막지바지야 대시에 홍모 어쩌고래.
So until I attain enlightenment, I will apply my body, speech, and mind to virtue, means I will practice mindfulness. And the essence of mindfulness is Hung. And that's why we have it on t-shirts, like I'm wearing it close to my body. So I never forget about the Hung. So mindfulness, the essence of mindfulness is the Hung.
산조 세조리 모지 마지 바나 지저제 지바야 메바야 옹레 공的배워요 아이 버주 상가롱라 당계신 시바시바 까마 짜시제레 바이 롱라.
Thank you very much, Ajahn Rinpoche. Thank you.
Internet is it. Thank you.
So Khenpo Tenzin will be giving the lung transmission for the Akshobhya Buddha sadhana, and there have been requests for 2 different lungs to be given. So that will happen momentarily.
Ich habe das Mikro nicht auf.
Oh, yes. Okay, dear Dharma friends, there are two kinds of sadhana. One is Chami Rinpoche. I can give that long, and another sadhana inside us, long Dharani Mantara. That part I can give. There's some. This sadhana is seems new. Writing by Kimpo Minso, so I have to check in my list. Okay. Tangke tu je jajer zonro jenjama do je bonjon basr je lombo tabra jibaga shakje jabe jalong zan sar durje janje telo naro tang ma pamala je gambo ba pamodre ba jawan dogom Kajyo lama nam je da jun she danandana tsira tam je da lama laba laya jiso zon la son yon den jam tsung ala ten zhe don jen de bega le zor ten jen zawa lama je je kuzon to je sen lan da 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 ge ju lan ben de da ge den ba dan sim je je don ja jim ban ra para sin je lab de sor Mandro bangun do rani jumdi mandro ba chuge chalon sembe zo langbu tela jobragom tu karar da te hong ten thar zung je yeso ko wa le wozren tingaram jube tsende to dang ro kun je le je dripa tam je ne pamur nirzer po tar gom Namo Renata ya Om Kangane Rozane Trojane Trasane Tras Radana Sarva Karma Parambara Neme Sawa Sato Nenza Sovaraga Abshira Aragejarwa Yeah, this actually same order. Namorna Raya Om Ganga Rosa Jordan Raza Tatana Sawa Karma Parampara Neme Savasado Nenzai So Sunam Daya Tam Jezawani Tawani Berdana Pazena Jagana Jabalang Drabai Subun Zolan Ruadro Varajo Jambar Bavaja Jambada Kunda Zambo Dayante Hinda Teda Kunja Jizo Dallas Givan the Dam Jerab Dongo to Sunchi Bajava Tam Jejongo Kalanjo Danga the Dagi Givers Avan the Gunja Zambo Jusarab Dongo Varaja Pamasim Jintan Jedid and Dejert in Rotam Jeta, the Donrayo Sanjo Samba Kanta Sanjoba Teda Kunja Mulandra Barjo. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank
Khenpo
you.
Tenzin, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. So we will see each other tomorrow for the Sakama prayer teachings, and it will be Arizona time 9 a.m. and time in Germany 6 p.m. So we wish you a very nice day or evening, and we will see each other tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Goodbye.